The little girl had not spoken a single word in 4 years. Doctors had tried. Therapists had tried. The world's most expensive specialists had tried. But on one ordinary sunny afternoon, in the middle of a neighborhood playground filled with children's laughter, something impossible happened. A stranger knelt beside her, smiled with quiet understanding, and seconds later the billionaire CEO felt the world stop spinning when her daughter whispered her very first word. It wasn't, "Mom." It wasn't, "Help." It was one simple word that shattered years of silence and unlocked a miracle no amount of money had ever been able to buy. Before we begin this unforgettable story, if you believe kindness can heal wounds that money never can, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Every act of support helps us bring more heartwarming stories to people around the world. The morning sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 42nd floor of Harlow Industries. Serena Vale, one of the youngest CEOs in the country, stood overlooking the city she had helped build. Newspapers called her fearless. Investors called her brilliant. Employees admired her discipline and determination. Yet every evening, after the meetings ended and the applause faded, she drove home carrying a sadness no business success could erase. Waiting for her inside their quiet house was her 8-year-old daughter, Elia, a child whose beautiful blue eyes spoke volumes while her lips remained silent. 4 years earlier, life had been different. Elia had laughed constantly, filling every room with cheerful songs and endless questions. Then a devastating car accident stole her father and left Elia physically unharmed but emotionally shattered. The doctors explained that her silence was not caused by damaged vocal cords. Her voice still existed. Deep inside, her mind had locked it away behind unbearable grief. Every therapist believed she would eventually speak again. Months became years, and hope slowly faded. Serena refused to give up. She traveled across countries seeking specialists. She filled entire rooms with educational toys, music therapy equipment, art supplies, and books. Every recommendation was followed. Every appointment was attended. Yet Elia remained trapped behind quiet eyes and gentle smiles. She communicated through drawings, hand gestures, and little written notes. She never cried loudly. She never screamed. Her pain hid beneath peaceful silence. One Saturday, Serena canceled an important investor conference for the first time in years. Looking at Elia sitting alone by the window sketching birds flying freely across the sky, she realized something painful. Her daughter had spent more time inside hospitals and therapy rooms than outside playing with children her own age. Without overthinking, Serena packed sandwiches, fruit, and juice into a basket and drove toward Maple Grove Community Park, a place they had never visited before. The playground overflowed with life. Children raced across colorful climbing frames. Parents chatted beneath large oak trees while birds sang overhead. The smell of fresh grass mixed with blooming flowers created a warmth Serena had almost forgotten existed. Elia looked around carefully, clutching her small notebook tightly against her chest. She seemed nervous but curious. Serena sat on a nearby bench while Elia slowly approached the swings. Instead of joining the other children immediately, she quietly observed them, studying their laughter like someone watching a language she once understood but had forgotten. Across the playground sat another parent who seemed equally distant from the noisy crowd. His name was Adrian Cross, a widowed carpenter raising his 6-year-old son, Noah. Unlike Serena's expensive suit and polished appearance, Adrian wore worn jeans covered with faint traces of sawdust. His hands carried years of honest work. His smile, however, carried remarkable peace. Noah noticed Elia standing alone and immediately ran toward her holding a bright red paper airplane he had folded himself. He offered it without saying much. Elia accepted it carefully and smiled, her eyes glowing with gratitude. Within minutes, the two children began communicating without words. Noah demonstrated how to throw the airplane. Elia copied him. Soon they laughed silently together as the little plane floated through the warm afternoon air. Serena watched with cautious hope. It had been years since another child had accepted Elia without asking uncomfortable questions. Adrian quietly walked over, picking up the airplane after one especially dramatic landing. Instead of asking Elia why she did not speak, he simply crouched beside her and began folding another airplane using a page from an old magazine lying nearby. His movements were slow and patient, inviting rather than demanding attention. Elia watched every careful fold. When he finished, Adrian handed her the unfinished airplane. He smiled gently, encouraging her to complete the final fold herself. She hesitated, then carefully finished it exactly as he had shown her. Together they launched both airplanes into the breeze. One flew high. The other crashed almost immediately. Adrian clapped anyway. Elia laughed silently. He clapped again, celebrating both airplanes equally. Something inside Serena tightened. No therapist had ever celebrated failure. They had always measured progress. Adrian simply enjoyed the moment. The afternoon continued peacefully. Noah suggested building castles in the sandbox. Elia eagerly joined. They shaped little rivers, tiny bridges, and imaginary towns. Adrian occasionally helped reinforce the walls while Serena remained nearby, gradually lowering the invisible emotional walls she had built around herself. Hours passed before a small incident changed everything. A frightened toddler wandered too close to the edge of the playground where a cyclist sped down the adjacent path. The child's mother was distracted for only a second. Serena stood quickly, preparing to run, but before anyone could react, Elia saw the danger. She froze. Her eyes widened. Every painful memory, every buried emotion, every instinct collided in one impossible moment. Then, without thinking, she opened her mouth. Stop. The tiny word rang across the playground. The cyclist slammed the brakes. The toddler stood safely still. Silence fell over everyone. Serena stared at her daughter in complete disbelief. Elia covered her own mouth with trembling hands, shocked by the sound she herself had made. Tears instantly filled Serena's eyes. She rushed forward, wrapped Elia tightly in her arms, and cried more openly than she had since her husband's funeral. Nobody applauded. Nobody interrupted. The entire playground seemed to understand they were witnessing something sacred. Adrian simply smiled quietly from a respectful distance. Later, after emotions settled, Serena asked the question she had to know. She wondered why Elia had spoken now after years of silence. Adrian answered thoughtfully that perhaps Elia had never forgotten how to speak. Perhaps she had simply forgotten she was safe enough to use her voice. Children often heal when nobody is trying to fix them. Sometimes they only need people who accept them exactly as they are. Those words stayed with Serena long after the sun began setting. Instead of returning to endless therapy appointments the following week, Serena changed their routine. Every afternoon they visited the same playground. Some days Elia spoke nothing at all. Other days she whispered one word. Then two. Then complete sentences slowly returned like birds finding their way home after a long winter. She laughed again. She sang softly while drawing. She even argued playfully with Noah over whose paper airplane flew farther. Each tiny victory felt greater than every business award Serena had ever received. As weeks became months, Serena also changed. She spent fewer nights inside boardrooms and more afternoons sitting on picnic blankets beneath the old oak trees. She discovered that success was not measured by quarterly profits but by moments she could never buy. She also learned Adrian's own story. Years earlier, cancer had taken his wife. Left alone with a frightened little boy, Adrian had nearly fallen apart. Instead of hiding his grief, he chose to walk through it alongside Noah. They built birdhouses together. They planted flowers. They spent countless afternoons helping neighbors repair broken fences for free. Through serving others, father and son slowly rebuilt themselves. Serena admired that quiet strength. One afternoon she visited Adrian's modest woodworking shop. Beautiful handmade toys, benches, and bookshelves filled the space. Every piece reflected extraordinary craftsmanship. Yet Adrian struggled financially because larger companies underpriced local artisans. Without announcing it publicly, Serena offered Harlow Industries a new partnership supporting community craftsmen across the country. Adrian accepted only after insisting every carpenter receive equal opportunity rather than special treatment. The program transformed hundreds of families. Workers regained dignity. Small businesses survived. Communities flourished. Journalists praised Serena's new corporate vision, believing it resulted from innovative leadership. Only Serena knew the truth. The greatest business lesson of her life had come from a man folding paper airplanes in a public playground. Exactly 1 year after Elia first spoke, Maple Grove Community Park hosted a family celebration honoring volunteers who had improved neighborhood life. Children performed songs, painted murals, and released colorful kites into the blue afternoon sky. When the organizer invited young participants to share something meaningful, Ilya slowly walked toward the microphone. Serena held her breath. The little girl smiled confidently. Her once forgotten voice rang clear across the park. She thanked everyone who had never pressured her to speak before she was ready. She thanked Noah for becoming her first real friend after years of loneliness. Finally, she looked toward Adrian. She said that sometimes heroes do not wear capes or own companies. Sometimes they simply know how to listen to silence until it becomes hope. There was hardly a dry eye in the audience. Serena realized that the greatest miracle had not been hearing her daughter's first word. The true miracle had been discovering that compassion could succeed where wealth, power, and influence had failed. Kindness had unlocked a door that force never could. And once opened, that door allowed an entire family to begin living again. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who may need encouragement today, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your support allows more stories of hope and humanity to reach people everywhere. Special request: before you leave, comment below with the words, "Kindness gives voice." We'd love to know you're part of this compassionate community. As the golden afternoon faded into a peaceful sunset, Serena watched Ilya and Noah chasing paper airplanes across the playground where everything had changed. Their laughter drifted through the warm breeze, carrying a reminder that some of life's greatest miracles arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary moments. Money can build towering offices, buy luxurious homes, and open countless doors, but only love, patience, and genuine kindness can awaken a silent heart. And sometimes, all it takes is one understanding stranger, one ordinary playground, and one fearless little word to change a lifetime forever.